So I'm here talking to Salim. He's a scriptwriter behind a script called Jihadis, in competition in Nice. Welcome.
Thank you, great to be here.
Welcome to the Pleasure Dome.
Thank you.
Okay, so as you know, we're broadcasting live and recording as well. If you could introduce yourself, I know I did quickly, and then give us a synopsis of the screenplay.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm Salim Salji. So my day job, I suppose, I'm in healthcare. I'm a doctor. I'm a husband. I'm a father of two children, 10 and 6, and aspiring screenwriter.
Doctor's a screenwriter. Tell me, what's the? No.
Yeah.
I'm being quite serious because you've got and it's interesting because there are other people here that are actors, producers, and a couple of them are doctors. So
Yeah.
you need an escape.
It's not a criticism on the NHS at all. I know. I suppose as a doctor, you're interested in people, and so I think that's there's that natural draw of so what's going on here, because often I'm a GP, and often in general practice we're taught to actually look for the kind of non-verbal cues, the kind of hidden agendas that often people have, where they might be describing symptoms that might be related to something more deeper. I think that idea of kind of digging beneath the surface of things that are often not quite what they might first appear is something that lends itself to screenwriting too. That curiosity about human nature, why people do the things that they do.
Perhaps you ought to tell us what exactly this is about.
Sure. So this is about when British parents discover that their son is the new face of an emerging terrorist state. They take radically different paths to save him. I'm sure that didn't sound at all like I've been practicing that all day.
No. It's honestly fine. So I have another stab at it, but I guess what the question is, perhaps I should frame it better, is you've just given a very brief synopsis about it, but overall, what is the message you're trying to convey with it? Is it a short, by the way? Or is
No.
Right, okay. And do you also? No, I'll move on to that question in a minute. Yeah. So what is the story you're trying to tell about this? Because you've been very brief, but
sure.
flesh it out. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm a father of two.
Yeah.
And I suppose when I was starting to think about, what would I like to write about, I thought, well, okay, what matters to me? And, my family, my wife, my children matter to me. And then, that kind of screenwritery way of thinking about opposites.
And is this your first stab at screenwriting?
The first time I finished the script. So I've been trying to write for 13 years, and, it's been almost there, and sometimes it's just gone, by the wayside, and life gets in the way.
Families, other things.
Yeah.
Work and everything.
That's right. But then I thought, okay, so what if, the object of your greatest love or affection became the thing that you feared the most,
that you
or
were,
hated the most?
Yeah.
It's not reflecting on how I personally felt about my children.
No.
But so I thought that was an interesting idea. That what if
the person you thought you knew wasn't the person.
Yeah, exactly. So the son, the journey that the son makes to become this pariah, this evil person. I think we've seen this story before in real life, but the impact that must have on the family in terms of how they must feel. What did they do wrong? That's what naturally you would. That's the instinctive thing you would feel if something like that happens. I found that both kind of a terrifying but fascinating question of how you would respond to something like that. And I think that's what led to. I think this is a.
Where did it spring from? Because sorry to interrupt. there's always a reason that someone writes something.
Yeah.
And unless you woke up one day and thought, hang on a minute, that'd be quite interesting. Or maybe you did, I don't know. I'd be like Paul McCartney dreaming yesterday, which he did, everyone famously knows. That he had a dream, got the words and wrote it down, and the rest is history. So you might have had a dream, I don't know. I mean, perhaps you can tell us.
I mean, to be honest, it was a kind of logical progression. So what I've got to write about something that I care about. I care about my family. So what if, people that you love turned into people that you feared or hated? And then I thought, well, okay, so how do I make this a non-soap opera story? And I thought, well, the thing that the general public and the world, one of the big fears today is about terrorism. So, but also I think, ideas can gestate in your mind. I read this article by, she was a Tory MEP, Daniel Hannan, I think. And he wrote a very interesting article about...
Hang on, a
Muslims.
Tory wrote an interesting article?
It's crazy as
really?
It may seem.
Anyway, sorry, I
because I was expecting, because, being Muslim, you're reading something like this, you always think, okay, what are you going to say about us now?
Yeah.
But actually, he said that when he looked at the backgrounds of the people involved in a lot of these terrorist attacks, that a lot of them had certain characteristics. Most of them were young males, underachieving, had criminal records. Often they had a history of drug use, and they came from irreligious backgrounds.
Irreligious
background.
What,
so they were known as not practicing.
Right. Okay.
So that made me think. Well, I assumed that.
Was that true? I mean, you obviously researched this now. Is that true?
Well, it was borne out in my own readings.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I thought, well, that chimes with, I think I know my religion. It chimes with what I know. But I thought this is a very interesting thing that I think a lot of people don't know, that there must be reasons why people take this road.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I could make an attempt to deal with, a very a difficult, traumatic story in a taking it from a fresh direction, that it would be interesting. I mean, above all, I want to write something that people will want to know.
Be a page turner.
They won't lose interest after 5 minutes and think this is nonsense and walk out, stop reading it. So above all, I wanted to write something that I thought people could relate to. So they could relate to the family dimension, and that they could relate to the terrorism issue, because we all have had to adapt to that. Coming in on a plane and I
kind of don't think about it. I don't think about any of that, only because I think if you start thinking about that, you'll never do anything. And you're kind of, I don't say giving in, that's the wrong word, but you're kind of being drawn into the fear that these people would want you to have.
Exactly. I mean, I feel very strongly that the people who do this, they're called terrorists for a reason. They want us to fear, they want us, because fearing is the first step to reacting in an irrational way, and often they have a very specific agenda and they're open about it. They want military involvement in Muslim majority countries, because that helps them recruit and it helps them get support. It's very rare that they actually have. I mean, this was a New York Times article I read about a journalist who had watched one of the Al-Qaeda recruiting videos, and there was no religious content in it.
That's interesting, because I would assume there would be.
Yeah, but there was a lot of very graphic, horrifying images of people who'd been maimed and killed.
Yeah.
And so it's an emotional argument rather than, I think, an emotional and political argument rather than a religious argument. And I think if I mean, okay, straying into politics here, but
no, sorry to interrupt, but what I would like to know is, and we'll get back to the theme we're talking about, what's really interesting for me is they always say write about what you know. And you've got no, but they often say that, and you've got a medical background. So I'm suggesting that you may have thought of something completely different because of your background, or did you never? What I'm trying to say is, was there an alternative story that you were thinking about that's not connected to this in any way, shape, or form?
That's the second script. That's
right. Okay. So you are. That is something you're working on.
I mean, I think what you said earlier about looking for an escape, there's undoubtedly an element to that. It's a rewarding job, but I think, even if, Wayne Rooney had to play football 3 times a day, every day for years, he would start to not like football so much. So, yes, part of the reason for this was, a different challenge and, an escape.
You might be interested to learn the actress here that's a doctor. She's from Argentina. And I didn't ask her age. I guess she's in her mid-late 20s. God, I hope I've got the right age right. I think I have.
You're going to be in trouble.
I think it's late 20s because I think it's 6 years to whatever, so I'm guessing I'm probably right. And I didn't know. The only reason I asked her is I just said, half jokingly, do you have an alternative career this day? And she laughed and said, I'm a doctor. And I was like dumbfounded. I said, oh my God, and you gave this... And the way she explained it, I totally got it. She said, thing is, I'm trying to choose my words very carefully to make sure I'm kind of right. I was acting in like Amdram when I was young, and I really liked it, but it was all just like a bit of a hobby.
Yeah.
Then I decided to become a doctor and qualified. You said one day I woke up, said I've still been doing acting, and I just literally physically hit a wall. I said, I don't want to be a doctor anymore.
Yeah.
She said, it wasn't for me. She still is. She practiced one day, I guess, because to keep her hand in or whatever.
Yes.
I don't know, to make sure she's the registration. Yeah. But it was very interesting to hear that description, and I said, it must be very difficult. Every day you are potentially making life or death decisions, and I'm guessing the same for you and anyone that works in a professional. My partner's a nurse. I know, what she tells me the gig. I can't imagine what that's like, and I cannot imagine having the drive to every day think. I'm not saying this day is my last day working in practice. I'm not trying to suggest that, and yet every day you are making very serious decisions. So when she explained to me, the way she explained it to me, I just thought, I get it. Why, I suppose the way to look at it is, do you want to be a doctor? Do you want to be someone's acting to be a doctor? Because at the end of the day, if you're acting to be a doctor and on set someone dies, it doesn't matter, you go home, don't you? But that's the big difference, isn't it? So the point I'm trying to make is, that's her kind of, not escape because it's her career path, but in the round, what you're talking about is not it's something that's completely unconnected with your profession, isn't it?
I mean, I think actually, I'm a GP, so that means that I could see a sore throat or cold 1 minute, and I could be putting pieces together and discovering somebody with an early cancer the next minute.
Yeah.
But a crucial part of my job is to be able to emotionally connect with people so that they open up about things. They don't feel like they're pressurised because it's the doctor.
Because we all know you've only got 10 minutes or whatever it is.
Exactly. So they have to be able to trust you, and being able to. I don't think you can fake caring. I think people, it's in the eyes.
Yeah.
I think what I'm saying is that. Doing stuff like this, writing and thinking at a deeper level about what motivates people makes me a better doctor, because then you're thinking about the other person all the time. You're not thinking so much about, okay, I've been here since 7, I want to go home, I've got kids who are going to go to bed in an hour and I want to see them before they go to bed. I'm thinking, this person's probably waited 3 weeks, what are they, what are they worried about? Is there something... is there something that if I miss it could totally destroy their lives? Because, they might come back a year and a half with some obvious condition that, I missed the window where it could have been treated. So, to me, it renews my ability to connect, to care. Because, if you're doing the same thing all the time, it becomes more of a, it becomes work. And this helps me do my job.
Is the end goal of this, or it might be easy to put it this way,
and
this might be a very difficult question to answer, say I suddenly introduce you to one of the industry professionals here, you show them the script and say, this is amazing, this will be an amazing film, I can get budget for this. And if that happened, which would be a dream, of course, but there might be a point one day, which is a little bit awkward thing to ask, where if that happened, and that's a big if, you would then have to decide, because you can't do both really, can you? So what I'm trying to get at is, if the right opportunity came along, and I guess you've thought about this, would it be to leave what you have job-wise? Because I'm guessing you're right, and it's not just because it's an escape, but there might be something at the end of the rainbow that changes your whole work out. I don't know, maybe you haven't thought about it. Does that kind of make sense? So you might have to make a decision one day.
Yeah, I mean, decisions that involve a lot of thought and working things through, they're never decisions that you make on your own. So although yes, I think it would be nice to work less, I can't see myself giving it up because I love this job. It's just the volume of it can sometimes weigh you down, but that's not the job's fault, that's certainly not the patient's fault. So I could never see myself hanging up the stethoscope, so to speak. But sure, I mean, if there came, you could do sabbaticals, I could work part-time. I could certainly do less, but I think giving it up, I'd feel like, actually people have invested in me.
And you chose this career for a reason.
Yeah, the government, it's not cheap to pay for training a doctor.
No.
There's a shortage of doctors. Yeah, I'd feel a bit like it's a bit kind of selfish to just completely take, okay, now, my ship's come in, I'm out here. I couldn't, I'd feel bad about that.
Did you want to write before you decided at a young age, I assume, to become a doctor? Or to put it another way, the creative side of you, was it always there, but this was your first career choice and it just chipped away as you went along?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question because, I mean, two of my earliest memories are of wanting to be a writer and writing stories, like 5, 6 years old, not very, starting at an early age. And also thinking, wow, I really like that guy who my mum took me to, who, when I was sick. I want to be like that. He's a nice person who's making people better. Yeah. So I want to do that. That looks like a really good thing to do in life. So I can't. I think they both kind of evolved, but I think it helps. My mum read to me from a young age. She taught me how to read and write from a young age. So probably the story thing came first.
Do you think, because I agree, I mean, I used to read a hell of a lot when I was very young, from 5, 6, 7, it was encouraged. And to my chagrin, I don't do that as much. And let's not fool ourselves. Reading news articles from The Guardian on your tablet or phone is not the same thing.
Have you been spying on me or something?
Oh yeah, or reading stories on your phone is not the same thing. I've tried it, just not the same. So I've got the book by the bed, and whereas I used to be really quite passionate about it, and it's become a bit of an afterthought. So I kind of lost that, and by losing that, I think I've also lost a bit of the encouragement for my children to that, and that's a terrible thing, really. So the point I guess I'm trying to make is the wonderful world we've got in terms of interconnectivity and being wherever you are doesn't matter anymore is great. The downside, that is a reflection of that downside. That's a personal point of view, but I can see that people, I know there's stats that have just come out recently where people are actually buying more books. I know it was in the news a couple of weeks ago. But I think overall it's a downward spiral. And
are they reading those books? Because I feel exactly.
No,
I
think a lot of them aren't reading. I think you just buy it to be cool.
I've probably got about 3 or 4 books with a bookmark in about a fifth of the way in.
Yeah, I've done that.
And I've got about 4 books with the same thing that I've been meaning to keep reading it. But in a sense, because I think an easy criticism for the script is that there's a lot of time changing in it, particularly in the first 10 pages of one time period and then going backwards for a different time period and then forwards to a different time period. But the reason behind that was because exactly as you say, we are kind of saturated with so much information that often, I mean, my mind feels like that. Like I start on something, there's this other thing that happens, I'm interested in that, what's going on in America, what's going on in the French elections, you know, Brexit.
Yeah, and it's all
so
there,
much going on
yeah.
that you're constantly feeling drawn in different directions.
And the thing is, it's got to the point where I'm interested about the saturation where I really bought into it totally. And over the last 6 months, I've suddenly kind of, and maybe even less than that, started to feel having a smartphone is great, but I can understand why people just don't want them and just want to have no connection like that.
Yeah.
Because there are amazing things, and the ability to immediately pick up on Skype or phone or whatever my family is incredible. And it makes you feel connected, and it is very satisfying.
Yeah.
The other part of me thinks, do you know what? I quite easily stamp on my phone and throw it into the sea. I'm not going to, because I can actually suddenly realise how people are getting really pissed off with them. And that's the paradox of it, isn't it? The love-hate kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, an addiction is where you are irritable and moody if you can't do something, and I find that I'm like that, and I'm a grown adult. If I feel like I'm instinctively reaching for my phone, and then how can I expect my children to
leave it in the
like
kitchen?
That
That's the way to do it. No, Chris Evans was talking about that, and I thought that's a great idea, and I've tried it, and it works. Put the phone on silent. Well, I always put my phone on divert anyway in the evening.
Yeah.
But leave it in the kitchen. That's a really good tip.
Yeah.
And then you're not up, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, because to me, that the disjointedness.
We've got sort of going off piste here. I always do this. So
no, it's good. It's good because I'm trying to get it to reflect what it's like in modern life. That often our thinking can be quite chaotic and kind of in a non-linear way. And because of the news saturation as well, you know, a news event happens.
We all instantly know at the same time, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, because it's in our rooms and we're reading about it, often it's as though it's a very personal thing that's happened. So in a sense, we are assaulted. It of course, not in anywhere near the same degree as the people caught up in the attack.
Yeah.
But still, that fear. I mean, you know. It's a contagion, and you know that leads us to then think. I think react rather than think about. You know, the things that we grew up thinking. You've got to kind of work. You know, what's the evidence for something? You know, what happened here? You know, we're reacting to the event before we get a clearer picture of the background to the event. So, you know, so the father's reaction, the father's response to knowing at the same time as the rest of the world what his son has become, and he's proud of it. His son is proud of it, not the dad. Is that, you know, initially it is, I've got to stop him at all costs. So it's a instinctive reaction because of his background, his military background. He's prepared to go and kill his son if that's what it takes to stop him. But as he has to make that physical journey to the territory where his son Amar is, and he reflects more on Amar's life, the times that they shared as father and son, and the times that he wasn't there as a father, you know, because he became a surgeon, and you know that was his
the medical.
life.
You say.
Yeah, there's something in
there.
that. Yeah, as a reflection. You know, it's that space for him to actually think things through that lead him to then come to the conclusion that this isn't going to work. That he can't persuade his son to give up violence with violence. So, you know, I mean, maybe I'm kind of reading too much into that, trying to put it into the structure, this way that we can, you know, become oversaturated with events and not have the content to really interpret the event properly.
Yeah.
And it can just come across as being confusing, but I thought...
No, don't worry.
Listen,
thank you very much for that. Time flies by.